anything come to mind that you would like? Let's just ask this. So I've been
I want
asking.
to I want to know more about what Catherine does or did. Like, how did it work? Like, what did he do like to help the families, and like what was the process like? Like to bring people in or out.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I mean, immigration falls into four categories. So you have your family, deportation, employment, and individual. So for families, I mean, there's something called fiance visa. I'm sure we've heard about the 90-day
90 Day
fiance.
Fiance. My wife is obsessed with that show.
Yeah.
I've
So
watched so many of them, not by choice, but yeah.
yeah, they're very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do, or they do similar stuff to that, or harder cases, the people that come in illegally to the United States but end up getting married to a US citizen. So it's a very long process, takes a few years,
Yeah.
because of the illegal entry. So there's waivers that need to be filed and hardship based on those. So it's very, very interesting. And then you have your business owners from all over the world. So we do, or they do, or we used to do big cases like that for big factories, or Apple, Dell. I mean, they have so many people from all over the world that they have to bring on type of visas and sponsor them. So it's
okay.
It's all that.
So that's really cool. Wait, Andy, you're gonna interrupt me, and I'm about to get going. Okay.
Go ahead, ask your next question, because I have a question that went right to that.
Wait, hold on. So in my plan, there's a few ways to do what I want to do, but oh man, what's the name of it? There's what's the name of the visa? It's a work visa where you bring a craftsman, a skilled labor.
Okay, yeah. So there's probably an H-2B, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you. So I was contemplating getting an H-2B to help me to bring one or two skilled craftsmen, shoemakers from León, Mexico, to help us basically set everything up and train our guys to get this going. What would be the process to do something like that?
Sure. H-2Bs, they are tough, but definitely doable, especially with what you need is so specific, but they're seasonal. So you can either get them to come for 10 months and then they go back for 2. And then, or you can do less. You can do more. There's what we call a one-time need. And that's when let's say you're super busy and you have contracts to fill and you need them for 3 years, they can be here for 3 years. But it just depends.
On an H-2B, or is it
on an H-2B? To meet all the work that you have to do. But by that, you have to show immigration, like, I have years of work. I need this help. But yeah, I mean, those are very cool.
So
hang on.
The reason why I ask is more so to be able to bring people to train more so than to work.
So that's really interesting, Brian. So to this point, that actually went to my question. So Brian, I love that question. So just so you know, I used to have a concrete company that would bring work visas. They brought 185 work visa humans to North Iowa, and they would work from April through Thanksgiving. And best workers, hardest working group of men and women that I have ever met in my life.
That's awesome. What my vision more so is more like, okay, so it's a refined skill. It's a craftsman's skill to be able to work the leather and the stitching. I'm not a shoemaker, so I don't know the intricacies of it, but I know it requires a lot of skill. And what I would want them to do is to come out and train, not necessarily make my shoes, but train my guys and my people to be able to make them. Does that make sense, Andy?
Yeah, it does make sense. But remember this, she worked for the lawyer. She's not the lawyer.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we don't, this is a slippery slope when it comes to that, of how those things work. No offense, Kat. I know you did it for 4 years, but those those types of questions, you want them to come and train, or you want them to be part of your organization. What will give you the best bang for your buck? Would it be bringing that, asking them if they want to come to the US and work here, or come here? Because you just said something that's really intriguing to me, is how do you teach a craftsman's skill in a short period of time? Especially Brian, hold up your shoe again for those that are going to watch this later. That is not like something like, hey, let me just do, like, I can pick this up in 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Andy. It's not going to be something that's very easy. I
No.
think that the stitch is probably going to be one of the hardest parts, and that's a skill set that's already here in the U.S. I would say more so the entire process of
Yeah.
like setting it all up, of arranging everything, is teaching us how to go through from beginning to end. And I mean, a sneaker isn't as hard as a dress shoe. It's more complicated than a sandal. But
And I will show
when I say
my screen.
when I
Wow.
say dress shoe, this
These
is a
things-
dress shoe, but with a synthetic sneaker.
Leather, they're so nice. They just, sorry, they are, they are. Guys, whoever's watching this, men especially, if you want the best dress shoe in the history of the world, these are it. And I'm sorry, I love leather. If you live in North Iowa and you're watching this, these are not good on ice, but they're good on everything else.
They're not good on ice, but everything nice.
That's right. So Brian, let's ask this for a question. I think with everything that's gone on, what if we put a date and a time on this? Let's just throw something out there. You've had so many good things happen, and your model and COVID and all the craziness that went along with that. When do you want your manufacturing transferred to the US?
Yesterday.
Well, it's kind of hard to work backwards from that date, but
I wanted it April of 2020.
okay, so let's be realistic right now. When do you, if you have to, you're working from scratch. For those of you that don't know, that are watching this after the fact, Brian would go to events, and all kinds of large events, from polo to car sales to South by Southwest. And he had this model where he took his shoes, he put them in a Humvee, they showed up, they sold them only on site. And it was a fabulous process. And it is a wow factor. So moving forward, we're going to get back to that at some point. But if you had to be realistic right now, and we put a date on it, is April of 2023 too far-fetched, or is it too far away?
That's 2 years from now.
Right.
Yeah, that's way far away.
I
want to
but
get
is it
going
too
now.
far away?
I want to get going now, like right now. Like I'm seeing everything that's happening, and I'm like, what is going on? I should have started this 2 years ago, and I can't. I don't. I had a plan with my banker, and it didn't work out, and did what I
So
could.
as you look forward, this is a good platform, and you're looking for, what would you tell the next big investor that comes along about why Penny Luck is the best, or any investor, I don't care what level, but what would you tell them right now as to why Penny Luck is the next big dress shoe in the history of the country?
I would say we're the next big dress shoe because I have a consistent vision as to where this is going. And there's a number of factors. One is inflation. Inflation is happening everywhere. Look at cars, look at everything that's going on. That's the first one. We have to bring manufacturing back. The second is all the technology that's taken place and the evolution. Look at the 3D printer. I keep bringing it up. I know I sound like a parrot, but the 3D printer has been huge, and no one has fully integrated it to its full potential in its production line. That's a second. The third is that it opens up the possibility to create a custom fitted shoe. So if I take a foot mold of your foot and I build out the shoe around it, like you'll have a custom fitted shoe. What does that do for people like Zappos and Amazon? It significantly reduces the rate of return. ROI in those with those marketplaces is huge. You know, industry average can range between 20 to 40%, and most of them are due to sizing issues, right? So what if we did sizing and color? So we eliminate that. That eliminates pollution. That eliminates a lot of logistics. I don't think logistics companies are really going to love me for that, but at the end of the day, like it's what's needed. The big vision that I have is the integration of technology into shoes. Whenever you take a step, you generate about double the amount of your body weight. And if you're able to harness that energy, which I know I can, there's a whole world of possibilities that you can do with shoes and footwear. So it's basically we're opening up an entirely new category. So you'll be able to have temperature controlled shoes. You'll be able to have just so many things that are possible with footwear. Yeah, that's the vision. And I don't want to get too deep into it,
No,
but I know.
I love
know.
that. See, that's what people need to hear. I think this also, not just with coaching, but this is also a platform as you look at all business owners. It gives people ideas and thoughts and like your vision, right? You're a big thinker. You have consistent vision. That's a critical driver in today's businesses. So bringing that full circle back to your original question. So as you worked with a lot of people that were coming to the US or that wanted to start businesses, Kat, how does helping folks, people, human beings get visas and documentation into the US help the local workforce? How does it help them start businesses?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, there's so many different type of visas. I mean, your investors are the ones that are creating jobs for the people here. So when you apply for, or when you start like a very big company, you're required to have a certain amount of US workers, you know, people here, that's a requirement that's in the law. For the people that, you know, we bring with visas with those H-2B specialties, I mean, your people that do the backyard, I mean, the landscape, you know, your painters, your constructions. I mean, for a while, we didn't allow anyone to come for like a year because of COVID, but I mean, there's a huge argument of, are they taking our jobs? But a lot of people don't apply to do those jobs. So that's why we need them. They're essential to the US. I mean, the only visa we did not cut out was an H-2A, and those are for your farmers. We need those people. Not everybody wants to do that job. So
Funny
those
you say that. Yeah, my grandfather was actually a picadero. He started picking fruit in California, and then he laid what's it called? He laid the tracks for I'm gonna get emotional.
It's okay. That I love that. That's what brings us all back. So Kat, you said something there that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And this isn't for political, but this is a conversation of and from my experience, there were a lot of people that did not want to do those jobs. There was a lot of people that don't want to work the hours. They don't want to put in the hard work. And then the other side of it is there's lots of people that want those jobs. So I would err on the side of we need everybody. In every organization that I talk to, in every organization, and this is historic for the last 10 years, because we've been doing it for 10 years, it's finding skilled labor or people to work within their businesses. And I think it goes without saying that as we find workers and we find human beings to do the jobs that we need them to do, it doesn't matter the color of their skin. Can they do the job that they're asked of? You know, can we have expectations? Can we have communication? Can we have strong leadership? We need to bring people to work, because if we as business owners, and it's over my right shoulder, I started it, we're doing some videos, but it says strong leadership. Every organization can lead people if they want to lead, right? If they want to lead. The construction company that had 185 work visa employees, these guys worked hard. They worked long, but also this isn't about taking advantage of people. This is, they had places to stay, place to clean their clothes. I mean, they had all of these things put in place because the work visa program is set up in a manner of the employer has to do the right thing by the employees. If I recall, that work visa had to guarantee them 75% of their wages every week, regardless of rain or snow. They had to make sure that they're taken care of. But also, the average work visa person was making over $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it was so funny
Their
because
salary back home, it's probably 70%, if not 300 times greater than what they would normally make.
exactly. And the interesting thing about it is the reason that they went to that work visa program is because they couldn't find workers who wanted to listen. And I would say that there's, in all areas, there's good people everywhere. And they had a training program, and they had it set up. And I think this employer spent $300,000 of his own money to make sure that his company was set up correctly, to make sure that anybody that worked in his organization was taken care of. And it, like he said, it was a great thing. Now, yeah, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, because they watch the news, those are bad people. You're right. I think in the 3 years that we worked with that company, well, there, if you listen to the news, not to make it politicized, people that are on the work visa or are bad people. That is a historic comment that we hear. And like, there's bad people like me, my color skin, I was a bad person, right? I did some dumb things. That happens to all of us. And I think in the 3 years that I worked with this company, they actually, of the 3 years, 185 people a year, I think I recall 3 conversations where they actually had to send somebody home because they just wouldn't listen. 3. So I tell everybody on this call, be open-minded, be understanding, work with all of us, because in order to keep your business running, and I know this isn't directed towards Brian, but there's a lot of good people out there that do a lot of good work that we need to embrace and bring into our organizations and teach them. Make sense? So back on Mr. Brian with that. So have you talked to your craftsman people that make your shoes right now in Mexico?
About what?
About bringing craftsmen here.
No.
I'd be interested if you started that process. I know you wanted to start last year in April, but if we move forward, it's from 1 year from now. Who are the people that you need to put in place first that will allow you to have that success here? Because like I said, guys,
I need to get all my funding in order, Andy. I feel paralyzed without having any resources. It's like I'm scratching at the sky. Doesn't make sense. I've been doing that for the past year. So for me, it's like, why keep, I'm constantly doing that. I make plans, but I've got nothing to execute that. I've been doing that for the past 16 years. For me, it's about capital. It's not about skill. It's not about ability. I've already built it. I've already proved it. I know I can do what I say I can do. It's about money. So.
Love it. Love it. So if anybody's listening out here today and you want to have a great conversation with Brian, send us a message, click on the link. We'll get you guys connected.